Okay, my name is Nick, and I wanted to show you some improvements that we've made with our contracts management module within the LCI platform. This should take about 5 minutes, so hopefully you enjoy it and let us know if you have any questions. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to contracts, and I'm going to start by adding a new contract to demonstrate some of the new features that we've added, right? So let's say I want to add a new contract around threat detection services. So a lot of these fields are the same, but there are some new fields here that I wanted to point out. And almost all of these came from our partner requests. So we very much appreciate everything you contributed in that regard. Okay, so the account field is the same, status is the same, location, you can choose any location. One of the new fields that we've added is to determine whether or not you own the contract or somebody else does. So let's say that this is your contract, so it's not third party. So that'll give us an easy way to filter contracts later, and I'll show that in a little bit. We've had the request to add a link URL where you can easily download the contract. And in this case, I have this contract in ConnectWise, so I'm gonna put my link there. And at any point when I go into the contract details, I can now navigate and download the contract just by clicking on the link icon. Description is the same. Another new field we've added within the contracts page itself is the ability to link assets to the contract. So let's say this particular contract covered, threat detection services for a bunch of assets within your client. So you can go ahead and you can select the assets that are tied to the contract. And once you do that, you'll see this list here. You'll also be able to see this now in the asset list, and I'll show that in just a second. In terms of billing cycle, this field has always been here. Just so you know, we added one additional billing cycle at one time. But in this case, I'm just going to use monthly. Let's say the cost is $1,500. It's actual. I'm going to say this contract starts today, Friday the 13th. But to demonstrate something else, this is another request that we have received frequently is, hey, I really don't want to set an end date, and you are no longer required to set an end date. So that I think is a plus for most people out there. So those are the new fields. Again, to recap, whether or not it's a third-party contract, you could add a link to the contract, whether it's from your PSA, IT documentation tool, SharePoint, Google Drive, what have you. You can link assets. And then finally, you do not have to specify an end date for a contract anymore. And when you don't specify an end date, the auto renew flag is really useless at that point in terms of budgeting. Because on the budget, if you don't specify an end date, we will just forecast the contract value out in perpetuity. Okay, so let me go ahead and save this contract. It does a little work when we save it. And let me just close this real quick. And let's talk about this view, the contracts list page, for just a second. So a couple of things, we've added a filter at the top of the page. So if you just wanted to see your contracts, you can say third party no. They'll just show you your contracts. If you just wanted to see contracts that were not managed by you, you can put third party yes. Or if you want to see all contracts, you can select all. You'll see that in this case, I don't have any end date specified for this. You can also see the assets that are linked to the contract, and you could also link directly to the assets from the contracts page if you wanted to. Some additional things that I'm going to talk about in just a minute are some actions that have moved into this page. But before I do that, I wanted to jump over to the asset list. And I mentioned earlier that that if you want, we now have added the contracts as a column option within the asset list, right? So if you select that and click save, you can see all the contracts associated with the asset in the asset list. Again, that was something that was requested because you've always been able to assign assets to a contract by selecting it, selecting an asset and, link to contract within the asset list, but we never really exposed which contracts, the contracts column in the asset list for you to view, but now that's exposed. Okay, let me go back to contracts. Okay, so I talked a little bit ago, we used to have the delete button within the detail, but right now, if you wanted to delete things, I'm not going to, but you can delete it straight from the list page. A couple of other things, if you ever wanted to copy a contract, you can just click the copy button, and it just creates a copy for you automatically. I'll go ahead and delete that. And then finally, a new concept we added around contracts is the notion of a contract template. So in other words, if you created a contract and you wanted to reference this contract either in a different customer, the same customer, or even a project, recurring costs in a project, you can save it as a template. Okay, so when you click the template icon, it'll say, okay, please name it. I'll just name it Threat Detection Services Template. I'll click Save. And once I have templates added, when I go into add a new contract, I'll basically be able to load from a template. Once I do that, it'll auto-populate all the settings that you have previously saved. Now, it might not make sense, you're using this template. You create the template from one customer, so the cost or the next due date or the terms may be different, including the link URL. You can go ahead and edit those as you please, right? You can get rid of this. You can say, oh, there's really no link yet for this. But we've heard that a lot, right? I don't want to keep re-entering contract information. I don't want to re-enter the description or specific things that are always static from customer to customer. So now you can save it as a template. Once you do that, when you're in the add new contract, you'll be able to see load from template and just select it. Okay, so along those lines, if you are working within projects, right? Let's say you have a project and you say, okay, for this project, I already have a number of recurring costs, but I want to add another one. You can go to add recurring charges that are associated with the project. You'll be able to view the contract templates here, right? So you can say, okay, I want to load the threat detection services template. And again, it'll automatically pre-fill this. The one thing it doesn't do in the project is do the begin date, because we assume that will always be different when you're creating recurring costs in a project. So from the standpoint of what will be released starting August 16th, the 16th of August, everything I just showed you will go out the door, will be out the door by then. This will be available to you. Beyond that, we have a couple of additional items that we're still working on, but I wanted to give you a quick preview of what that is, just so you know it's coming. And specifically, it's around importing your contracts from your PSA. So some of you probably noticed, we've always had the add new contract subscription, and we've always just allowed you to manually enter contracts within Lifecycle Insights. But we're now about to embark on the ability to import contracts from your PSA, and we're going to stair step this process. First, we're going to do it with ConnectWise Manage. That's kind of our proof of concept, and that's just about done. And then once we get that vetted, we're going to quickly turn around and go to our other PSAs, Autotask, Synchro, and Halo. If you're currently an IT Glue customer, that is not to worry. We are going to allow you to import your contracts from your PSA just by doing a simple company mapping from IT Glue customer to ConnectWise Manage or Autotask or Synchro or Halo. But let me just show you what this is going to look like, just so you have an idea of what's going on. So if you want to import a contract from Manage, okay, and just so you know, if I click on this button, just so you know, this demo site is pointed at IT Glue for its primary data. So there's a mapping where we're mapping the company from IT Glue, which is Hunter Lodge, to the company of Hunter Lodge and ConnectWise. I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute, but just know that for this particular company, that mapping has already been completed. Okay, so when I click on importing agreements from ConnectWise Manage, it gives you a list of your agreements. And it gives you the status, description. Again, this is sample data within our ConnectWise sandbox, so it's not great data. But there's a couple of things to realize. First is we just show you the agreements from ConnectWise. But you could also see the details, and you can actually import the details individually if you wanted to. So this particular agreement, Hunter Lodge Managed Services Agreement, has 3 additions underneath it. And if you wanted to, you can import the additions as contracts themselves within Lifecycle Insights, or you can import just the top level. It actually will let you import both of them if you want to, but I don't see why you would ever really want to do that. But typically wrong about those things. Maybe there's a reason. But to import the contract, you just basically select it. And it'll give you a message that says, hey, I've successfully imported the agreement for ConnectWise Manage. It's got a check mark, says it's already been imported. If I close this, I can take a look at it. And you'll see that this particular contract was imported from ConnectWise. How do I know? It's got the double asterisk. It says, hey, we've been imported from the PSA. The notion is that once it's been imported, we are going to sync nightly with ConnectWise Manage. In this case, if it's AutoTask, we sync nightly with AutoTask, Halo the same, Synchro the same. But we're going to also give you the ability, if you ever want to perform an on-demand sync, you can click this button, which will automatically resync the data from the PSA back into Lifecycle Insights. If you click on this, there's a couple of things that are different. So if I click on a contract that's been imported from a PSA, you'll see a couple of things. First is that it'll tell you up here the last time it was synced, okay? And then a couple other things. So these fields are all updatable, right? So you can change the name, a link, description, anything like that if it's third party. Some of that information we can't get from ConnectWise, but we're going to allow you to change all that stuff. There are certain things you cannot change, right? This is pulled directly from Manage, right? So it'll pull the billing cycle, the cost type. We're always going to assume it's actual, and then the dates around it. So that is information that we're going to pull. So when it gets synced, it'll be updated automatically, and you can't update them within Lifecycle Insights because of the sync process. So that's something to look forward to. If for whatever reason you said, hey, you know what, I need to update this information, there's no reason that says you can't just copy this. If for whatever reason, again, we wouldn't recommend this, but if you wanted to update information and get it out of sync with ConnectWise, you can just go ahead and click the copy. And once you do that, we'll create it, and you can then, you will create the copy, and then you can update everything as you normally would. The use case there might be if you, for whatever reason, change PSAs, you can import your contracts from PSA 1 to PSA 2. That might be a use case that'll fall into. So we're expecting, again, to wrap up, everything up until the import from PSA will be released by August 16th, 2021. The integration with the PSA and the ability to import contracts will kind of be delivered in a stage approach over the next 4 weeks. And if you have any questions about that, please feel free to let us know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed seeing what's coming. We enjoy the feedback from our partners, and this is a direct result of it. So hopefully we hit the mark. If you have any questions, please let us know. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.